Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Coach Ricardo Miller, and I'm excited to be back with a very provoking conversation that's going to help a lot of people. She is clearly becoming hugely popular here on Effective Living. This is not a first time, second time. She's been here before.
Right.
Dr. Tonya Cunningham, how are you doing this morning?
I am wonderful, Coach Ricardo. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, listen, I had to do this, and I'm so glad your schedule allowed you to be able to pop in this morning. You've been keeping yourself busy. Tell our viewing audience a little bit about yourself and what is it that you do?
Well, I am, first of all, proud to be a native of Fort Worth, Texas, and I am an author, a speaker, a transitional life coach, and I basically help people transition and navigate through loss to a holistic, healthy lifestyle.
Wow. Native of Fort Worth, Texas. You have watched Fort Worth change over the years,
Yes,
grow and just develop. And it's just become, I love Fort Worth.
I do too.
It's just something different about Fort Worth. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning we're live with Dr. Tonya Cunningham. We're talking on a subject matter that I felt as though is critical, super important for us to look at, to examine, and just to kill some myths, some bad ideas that people have allowed themselves to live with, to hold on
Right.
to. One of those things like what happens in this house stays in this house. Well, the
Oh my
reality of
gosh.
it is there's some things that may happen in this house that needs to be reported, okay?
Exactly.
Tonya, listen, when it comes to, hurting people, there are a lot of people who are hurting, but they put up a facade that just try
Mhm.
to look like they have it going on. I don't want to tell anybody, what will people think of me?
Yes.
Shame, disgust,
Mhm.
shy, just reserved, afraid. I mean, just so many things goes on in the life of someone who is going through. And a lot of people
Yeah.
are going through more than they say they're going through.
Yes.
What's going on there?
And that is something that I too, in times past, I have to be transparent. I was that person because that's what I was taught. Especially in our culture, you probably have heard this: be strong or
Yep.
stay strong.
Yep.
And I have so learned that we need to redefine what strength is.
Yep.
So you've heard this saying that broken people break people, or hurt people hurt other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we have found to be prevalent in our world today, in our society today. But what I have noticed, Ricardo, is that since the pandemic, the trajectory has changed.
Yep.
While the pandemic has certainly been painful for a lot of people, certainly painful for us to watch the massive loss and things like that, but it has brought to the forefront those things that are unresolved, such as relationships that we need to address within our families.
Wow. Family dynamics. I don't think it's something that very few people talk about and address because it's
Mhm.
our family.
Mhm.
You don't say that about family to others.
That's right.
And we're gonna address it in this house, but none of us are skilled in this house. The
Mhm.
truth be told, those who are advising this house have brought down certain problems that have never been addressed with them. And so now we're dealing with generational challenges that are
Oh
just
my
not
gosh.
good. So if it's
Yes.
staying in this house, but it's not good, we could be birthing a generation of mess at the moment.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to use that. I'm going to give you credit. I use the word generational curses, but
Yeah.
we know that to be familiar terminology within the church.
Yeah.
But it's not just within the church, it's in the world. So I love how you stated generational challenges.
Yep.
You see, I wanted that elephant to be seen back there.
Yep. Yep.
Colloquialism, that there's an elephant in the room. We
Yep.
know what that means, that there is an issue, there is a problem, but we don't want to deal with that.
Yep.
So I have this in my office, and clients come in, they sit like, what is that there for? I said, because we're getting ready to deal with that elephant that's been in your room your entire life.
Ooh,
Mhm.
ooh, the elephant in the room. See, just saying the elephant in the room. The next time we do a talk, that's gonna be the title. Okay.
All right, I'm with you.
The elephant. If you're watching us this morning, do me a favor. Please share, tag, and invite someone. There are so many hurting people out there,
Mhm.
and it takes courage for someone to say, "Help, I'm hurting."
Yes.
It takes courage. It takes a lot to say
Yes.
that. And then some people they've watched other people have been taking advantage of, and the information they've shared being used incorrectly. So they're like, I ain't saying nothing, because the last time I saw someone shared that they were hurting, other people just didn't use it correctly.
Yes.
Matter of fact, I've come to the conclusion, in the clergy position, we're supposed to be, everything that's come to us is supposed to have confidentiality. When you share with me, that's supposed to stay with me. You're still not supposed to go home to your spouse, and you're supposed to go home to your children.
Yes.
But why is it that people looking at me funny when I shared with you, but now your kids don't even smile at me no more? What's going on? So
yes.
there are people who are afraid to talk. Why
Yes.
do you think that is?
Again, because of what you just said, they don't find a safe place. We need a safe place to be able to share and to do what I call mind dumping. I too was afraid. And it wasn't until within these last recent years, listen to this, of going through the tragedy of a divorce. It's like, again, going through that where I got the courage to be able to talk about not just what happened in that particular relationship, but what has happened in my life prior to getting married. So I think, again, it's basically what you just said, the fear of backlash. What is going to happen? I have no support. Even if that support is negative support or toxic support, a lot of people refuse to say, hey, we've got to change something, because the reality is, Ricardo, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So a lot of people choose not to change in that toxic relationship.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. Listen, Dr. Tonya, I was thinking the other day, I'm about to do a talk on YouTube. And so if you guys are watching, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm about to do a talk. And it's when it comes to crisis and challenges, I too went through a series of just some high and low moments, and a couple of them where I got punched in the face by life. And if I thought I was doing really well until life threw me a blind blow that I thought was a blind blow. But anyhow, in those moments when life throws you that greatest challenge, friends, family, and Christian people, that's the talk what I'm going to have.
That's good. That's good.
I want to dissect friends, or what's it, family, friends, and Christian people. Oh,
woo, that's going to be good.
That's going to be good, okay? Friends, family, and Christian people, because they all have a position.
Yes.
And you got to watch you got to watch family in the midst of times of crisis, because not all family, what they say is helpful. Some families, what they say and do can be hurtful or hurting the situation, right? And then you have friends, you've been my friend, but you're not skilled to help me with what I'm about to go through. So it's almost better for you to be quiet and say nothing and just say, I'm a shoulder to lean on. And then last but not least, I'm a minister and I'm going to say this, last but not least, it's the most judgmental people on the planet. It's the Christians.
Come on. Woo, yes. You're telling the truth.
Right there. They're worse than family and friends. Okay.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
I'm a witness.
What's your view on friends, family, and Christian people when it comes to hurting people?
You're exactly right, because when you're talking about family, really in general, of course, we have the traditional definition of what that is, but from a non-traditional, or shall I say a unique definition of what family is, it's people who support you where you are. So when I'm working with people, I had to learn it for myself. You probably have heard this cliche. You guys have heard this before. It takes a village to raise a child. When you're going through crisis, it takes a village to support you. So you have to identify those friends and the roles that they play, because a lot of times we bring stress upon ourselves, expecting a particular person to fill a role, and they don't have the capacity to do so. So identify that support system, your family, your friends. And again, we can't do anything about the family that we're born into, but we can definitely choose the family that we want to be connected to.
That is so good. There are people who don't even know how to diagnose themselves to a place where they need to go talk with someone. I don't know where I haven't smiled in weeks. I sit in my car in the parking lot and dread going into the office, going into the building. When it's go to work and it's come home, it's being in that cubicle. When I wrote the book Effective Living, I said, man, I want to wake up some stuff, because a lot of people have not been living. A lot of people have been merely existing.
Barely.
Let's talk about some telltale signs you're not in a good place. What have been some of the more common behaviors or ways? Now, we know it varies, but give us some
Mhm.
of the things where someone, if you're really operating like this, you may want to go and talk to someone and see, is this naturally you, or is
That's
this
right.
what you have become accustomed to because of how you've dealt with what has happened in your life?
Mhm. I would say prolonged behaviors such as prolonged sadness, kind of like you mentioned, I'm not happy. I've heard that just within the last few days from people that I'm working with. I'm just not happy. I don't know why I'm not happy. So we have to get to the root cause analysis of what that is. So if you see prolonged sadness or prolonged dysfunctional,
Yeah,
if you identify patterns in your life and the life of your family,
yeah,
because I think you mentioned it earlier, there's some generational challenges that
yeah,
are passed on.
yeah,
That means that it is time to get help, because the truth is, if we could change it in and of ourselves, we would have done it already. So
wow,
since we haven't, that means that we need to again make the decision, the conscious decision to make a change and to reach out and get help. So I would think those powerful things or initial things would be patterns, look
yeah,
for patterns, and things are prolonged in your life.
wow.
Deal with it. That means you need
Prolonged
to get some help.
prolonged problems. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching me this morning, I'm joined with Dr. Tonya Cunningham, and we're talking about help. You know, I'm hurting, and the truth is, someone's watching who knows someone who needs help, but a lot of people
Right.
just don't know how to reach out. Dr. Tanya, I made an appointment a few years ago to see a therapist to sit down and just
Mhm.
clear my head, because I was trying to figure out what went wrong, where, when,
Mm.
and how. And I can
Yes.
remember, I'm the kind of guy, I'm in the therapist's office. When she left, I looked at the books and I took a couple names down. And I'm like, listen, I'm start reading these books, because obviously she knows what I don't know. And I want to know what she knows so that I can be
That's
free. Right.
that's
And so I
good.
started reading a book. And after doing a few sessions, she said, where did you get that question from? What made? I was like, listen, listen, man, I'm doing the work. Okay. I don't want to just sit in your chair and
That's
tell you
it.
about my issue. I want to get to the root and address them
Hmm.
and do the work. How important is it for a person to be prepared to do the work when it comes to removing themselves from those bad places of torment, frustration, and just not good?
Yeah. Yeah, you said mouthful there, but you are exactly right. Getting to that root, because all of us have fruit, and we can understand that from an agricultural standpoint,
Yep,
as it relates to a tree and all of that. So whatever we see exhibiting in our life, be it good fruit or
yep,
rotten fruit, there is a root to that, which
yep,
means you've got to get to the root to pull it out. It is difficult work.
yep,
Why? Because it's called excavation. When you understand it's digging, and
yep,
you're going into the deep places, and you're going to have courage to ask your family questions that you don't know.
yep,
So doing the work is necessary. It is no way around it. I've tried it. It
yep,
doesn't work. Everybody. And guys, did y'all hear him say that he went to go talk to a therapist? I
yep,
have my own therapist. There
yep,
is no way that
yep,
I can help people through
yep,
these life transitions without
yep,
having my own outlet,
yep,
because reality, Coach Ricardo, is that counseling and therapy is not just for when things are going wrong.
yes, yep, yep,
It's for when you need that supportive system to celebrate you where you are, or
yep.
just to process through some things in life.
I love the fact that you said it is not. We've unfortunately built it around the idea, if you're going to see a therapist, you must be, something's wrong. You're going to see a
Yes.
counselor, something's wrong. I've now built on a whole appreciation in my effective living module or model,
Yes.
is that, you know what?
Yes.
I want to go see a therapist just to make sure that I'm good. I want to
I'm on the
go,
right track.
come on, I'm on the right track. And so somebody
That's
said,
right.
well, what would people think? At some point, Dr. Tanya, you got to get to the point where people are going to think, no matter what,
No
people are
matter
going to
what.
have their thought. There are 8 billion people on this planet. To
That's right.
live, to live with
That's
the
right.
thought of what someone else's think about you when it comes to being whole, when it comes to living in peace, when it comes to living
Yeah.
in joy. That's
Mhm.
really a terrible place to put yourself, because there are just too many people to try to please. You
Absolutely.
cannot please everyone. So
Mm-mm.
let's talk about this. How can we get more people to accept the fact that, you know what, this needs to be more of a cultural acceptance that just as you go to the dentist, just as you do the annual physical checkup with your body, you know, just as you live with a budget and probably manage your money, you need to start to look at your psychological position. You got to start to look at an assessment on your mindset. Because there are some people, well, you know, I'm a Miller and we short-tempered people. We, you know, I snap at you. Everybody know he's Miller boy and he snaps at you. Well, the truth is, where did your mama get that from?
Come
Where
on!
did your Grammy get that from? Why did your daddy beat everybody up? What was going on with him that now is going on with you, that you are now having problems beating up your sister, beating up your girlfriend, beating up, there's issues going on. Help. Help us, doctor.
You just helped us, coach. That is so good. Again, looking at what has happened in times past, and then so how do we get people to do that? I was listening to Dr. Jazz briefly before I came on, and she answered a question in the same format that I do, because people will say, especially about other people, how do you help somebody when you know that they need help? Absolutely. Unfortunately, there is nothing that you can do other than pray for them. Because each of us have to take personal responsibility. Our healing work is our responsibility. The hurt that happened to you may not have been on you, but it is our responsibility to take that initiative to take the next step to get help. And as we take that personal responsibility as individuals, then that's when we will see a cultural change. So but the challenge is a lot of people don't think they need any help.
You're correct. So when a person gets to the point, you don't understand how bad she did me. Oh, you don't understand what he did to me. I ain't gonna never forgive her. I'm never gonna forgive him. You know what? I don't care what you're saying, Dr. Tonya Cunningham, with you know, with your elephant in the room, right? Listen, let me tell you something. I don't have to tell people what he did to me. I know what he did to me, and I ain't letting it go because he was wrong or she was wrong. How poison, how damaging, how wrong is that idea or that way of thinking?
It is so toxic to the point that you will not get to a place of living a whole as we can here on earth. You will not heal. You will forever feel that way. So one of the things that I ask people when they ask to work with me, I ask them, are you ready to do the work? Because it is dirty. It is painful. But if you don't do that, you are saying to yourself, you want to stay in that position that you are. And that's a decision that we all have to make. And we have to come out of denial, especially, again, people of faith. You mentioned that earlier. I think somebody put it in the chat earlier talking about Jesus and therapy. We need both. And what I see, there's a marriage of psychology and theology because we are spirit, body, and soul. For so long, we've dealt with only the spirit part of who we are, but we must address the soulish part of who we are, because that's our appetite. That's our emotional makeup. And when life happens, like it threw you a curveball, threw me a curveball, and everybody else, you have to learn how to process that and deal with that soulish realm, that hurt, that trauma.
I have a lot of believers who watch my programs, and I've come to accept and believe that Christian people are some of the most judgmental people on the planet.
Very.
Now, I don't know if it's because I know years ago I heard a preacher preach that a church is a hospital for hurting people, and I heard that before. And if it's true, let's just say the church is a place for hurting people, then all of us are in here to get help. But there are people sitting at the door at a pew, and all they're doing is examining other people's hurt, but they're in the same space, judging other people's hurt. To Christian people, to believers, I know you're a woman of God. You're a believer. What would you say in regards to, you know, I know what the Bible says. The Bible said, take the beam out of your own eye. Right?
That's right. Absolutely.
I got so much work to do on me. I have no time to be judging you and how you're showing up in the world and what you're going through. Right? But what advice you give to those who are standing on the sideline, just really over engaging themselves in how other people are trying to walk through whatever they're walking through? Because the truth is, nobody is exempt from a challenge. And a lot of people just hide their elephant deeper in their closet. And suppress it, and they just know how to fake it really well. But the truth is, you know, we all are being worked on, and we all should be
Yes.
working on ourselves. But could you
Yes.
talk to our viewing audience, because you have clients who, you know, I think they would feel good to know that they're walking through a process to get better, but to
Mm-hmm.
have your people of faith understanding and appreciating
Yes.
that is a good feeling versus judging
Yes.
that and not being afraid to even say it to someone in your faith community, because you know they could be worse sometimes than the
Right.
unchurched.
Yes. When I first started out in this, as far as helping people, coaching and things like that, grief counseling, right after my life changed after the divorce, the majority of my clients were straight out of the church, praise leaders, pastors.
Yep.
So what God has done for me is using me to help leaders. It's a safe place because we have to deal with it, not only from a spiritual standpoint, which is the foundational principle, but we have to deal with our emotionality because that is present.
Yep.
And we have to be able to acknowledge that. And I would say to the believer, you cannot function and be effective to who God has ordained you to be until you address all parts of who you are, each dimension. Because it is with the mind that we serve the Lord. So a man thinketh, so is he. This is why the Bible tells us to renew the mind. So that's why you cannot pray. Think about that. Think about what you used to tell people in church when they would come to the altar for prayer and they say, pray for me, I'm having this in my life, whatever it is. And we will pray for them and we'll say, oh, honey, go home and pray. Well, a broken soul cannot pray. So you have to be able to address that. Not only restoration is not just going to church.
Yep.
What we're doing now is restoration. What you do in your coaching, that's restoration of the soul. So we have to be able to engage in that as well as the spiritual makeup of who we are in order to become holistic in who God really intended for us to be.
Dealing with the spirit of shame or the shame factor. I can't believe this is happening to me. Oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
you know, listen, I got a degree, you know what I mean? I'm educated, you know, I got money. Come on, I
Mm-hmm.
look good. How could this happen to me? How could this
Listen.
somehow I need to get past this having happened to me? Why did it
Yes,
happen to me?
that's right.
How do we get to being at a good state where you can actually answer that? What advice would you give to someone?
Again, you have to be able to move beyond you. I believe it's one of Bishop Jake's movies. Again, there was a line in there where it was an old dog sitting on a tack, and the dog kept howling, just kept howling. And the owner said, when the tack, the pain from the tack is painful enough, the old dog will move. When the pain that you experience in your life is to the extent where it's so painful, it will cause you to move, but unfortunately not until then. So I encourage people, you have to be removed from people and what people think. Just like the woman with the issue of blood. What did she do? She pressed her way. She wasn't even supposed to be out in the crowd, but she wanted her healing. So she had to do what was necessary, what was uncomfortable. I've been there, you know, because talking about that Cunningham line, when you're talking about those Cunninghams are prideful people. Oh my gosh. And that pride almost killed me. I would be starving. Ricardo, as a single, I would be starving, wouldn't have no food, wouldn't ask anybody anything. So you have to be willing to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
To allow God to help you so that you can get the help from people.
I like what you said. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. I want to talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this, please do me a favor and share. Share the link on YouTube to somebody else and let them watch this on Facebook. There are so many people that are dealing with pride. They're dealing with you know, what will people think of me? So they're hurting in silence and they're not allowing themselves to express the fact that help is available to them. But to help our viewing audience to accept the fact that there is help available, but how to do some of the right work to ensure that you get the right help. Because I know there are people who I talk with my girlfriend and I thought I wasn't going to tell her, but I told her, but Lord Jesus, she was the wrong person. Or I ended up telling the guy or the lady at church when they were praying for me, and I told them, Jesus Christ, it was the worst decision in my life, because now it's like, you know, or I told someone at work, you know, we need to say something, but what is the proper process to saying it and to whom, to ensure that we're not creating more of a problem for ourselves because we did not connect with someone who is mature enough to accept the fact that this is a hurting person who needs help, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a right way and a
Mm-hmm.
wrong way to move forward after a person has expressed themselves to you. You don't want to
Mm-hmm.
be, oh, guess what I just heard? Guess what? This lady came to me and prayed. I didn't know she was going through. Come on, talk to us.
Again, you mentioned a key word there, talking about maturity, especially that's from a spiritual and a natural standpoint. Trust is going to be a part of that, and then skill set. Your pastor, and this is not for all, unless your pastor is a therapist.
Yep.
Your pastor may not be the best person to provide that advice for you,
Yep.
and this is where again, because a lot of us are not spiritually mature to where we can't discern and figure out who. So then that's when you can ask for him. I have a lot of people call me a lot of times, Ricardo, and they'll just bounce. What do you think from a professional standpoint?
Yep.
Well, I know that you love God and you're professional.
Yep.
What do
Yep.
you think? I said, I think perhaps you should go in this direction. Or I would think again by talking to that person.
Yep.
So look at a person's skill set
Yep.
and their maturity. Look at their fruit.
Yes.
Look at their fruit.
Mm-hmm.
People say you can't be fruit inspectors. You know, we know a tree by the
Yeah.
fruit that it.
Yes. Yes.
So you don't
Yes.
want to go to somebody. You can't tell me about effective living, but I see your life. I see the effectiveness. So I'm going to go to Coach Ricardo about effective living because I see the fruit in his life.
Wow. Become a fruit inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the truth is, watch this. You want to become better every day, every week, every month.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
say, listen, oh, I examined those fruit a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't realize one of them wasn't good because it looked good on the outside. Well, guess what? The more you intentionally put forth the effort to become a better fruit inspector, you say,
Yeah.
oh, that happened to me last year, but that ain't gonna happen to me again this year. That happened to me last month, but that ain't gonna
That's
happen
right.
to me again. How important is it for us to study our lives and our behaviors?
That is important because we have to understand where we come from to help us to know where we are going. And a lot of people don't like that. That's why family is so important, to be able to identify and assess and what happened in your family and those dynamics. So it can help you know who you are as it relates to that particular family unit, but help you heal and move forward. I have a thing as far as a lesson that I have learned as it relates to families is that secrets can heal. They hurt, but family secrets can heal you once they are exposed.
Yep.
Once
Yep.
they are exposed, you're dealing with the elephant in the room. Then it's up to you to take the charge to say, am I going to do something about this and do something different? Or am I going to continue in the same vein that my family members continued in?
I'm going to bring this in, but I just want to talk about a couple of things. Let's go back to this elephant in the room. There are people who have never addressed the fact that they were molested by a family member. There are
Yes.
people who I did a session just a while ago, and I was talking about the fact that when I was a kid, I mean, a deacon put me out of the church and told me never to come back again. I could hold on to that and still be saying I'm scarred for church. The reason why I'm telling you, those church people don't have no love for God inside of them. God may be real, but those people at church ain't. Right? But there are people who are not willing to address the elephant in the room, but they know that it's in there. Do you have anything that you would say that is the starting process to getting, there's something going on in someone's heart that even while they're listening to us, they're like, even if it's not maybe with the person, maybe it's getting free for themselves in learning how to express that maybe to a therapist, somebody who can counsel them and being, I'm able to say, a pastor did that to me without being shady and trying to just be angry and be like, well, I ain't never going to, because that person is a pastor now. I ain't never going to their church, right? No, I'm free. How important is it to get to that place where we really need to push ourselves to addressing the elephant in the room?
You must, because your whole life depends upon that. It's a personal decision. Again, I think I saw someone in the chat says she just told her son that he needs to find a person that he can spill the beans to, or that they can try. They must have read my book, Spill the Beans. I put that in there. You got to be willing to spill those beans. And the beans, they spill all over the place. It's not in an orderly fashion. But the key thing, again, is you have to be able to allow yourself to be vulnerable and find that person. I use grief counseling as a example. When you're looking for a grief counselor, you want a grief counselor who's experienced grief.
Yeah, right.
School is one thing, educational is great, but they need to also know how to be able to connect. So I encourage people, when you're seeking that person, if you don't feel that connection, go to the next one. until you find the person that you feel safe with, that you can share. Now, understand that we as human beings, all of us err. Just like you said, you could have easily shut down from the church and say, I'm not going anymore, because believe it or not, I know a lot of people who are not a part of the body of Christ right now because of church and what people have said to them.
Yep.
And they refuse to take personal responsibility to move beyond what someone said or did to them in the church.
Because, you know, one of the interesting thing about it is, as much as that guy told me at 12, don't come back to this church, you get your little big head out of this church, right? Now, watch that. As much as he said that, I am 45 years old, and I can look back, boy, I was a little chucky. I was a little mess, right? So he was wrong, and I'm mature enough. I can't free him without freeing me and being honest with what I did.
Yes.
I can't just be saying, oh, I was put out of a church when I was a kid. Hold on. There's two sides of the story right here now.
That's right.
I too had issues that should have been addressed. And
that's
he
right.
wasn't skilled enough to address it. And he addressed it the best way he thought he
knew how.
Right? And so let's bring this on. This whole term, what happens in this house stays in this house. Why is it important for us to not really hold on to that as much? But before you do that, somebody asked the question, should all family secrets be revealed? What's your view on that?
Yes, I agree. I just saw that. Yes, because that's where healing comes forth. Now, how it's revealed is the key, where you have to use wisdom. Yep. What I did, I called a family meeting. Yep. And I had because my parents are deceased, so my sisters are the historians. Yep. And I asked them the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yep. And that's how things were revealed in our family. So yes, there needs to be a revealing, because the reality is unresolved hurt, pain, issues, secrets, whatever they are, they don't just go away. They're going to lie dormant in your life, impacting you, keeping you effective. Yep. So yeah.
As I was about to ask the question earlier, with the fact that there are people who something's wrong in their home, something's gone on wrong in their home in time past, but there was this teaching, there was this idea that was passed on. It happened in this house, it's going to stay in this house. We don't share family business. You know, we're going to address it, but there obviously nobody here is skilled enough to address it. Talk to our viewing audience for those who want to get to the place where they start to realize, I want to live healthy. I want to be a part of a more healthier process, engaging with my kids and my family and everything. Because the truth is, you can have a daughter, you can have a son, something could go wrong, but you have this mother, you have this father who is saying, don't say anything to anyone, but you have an auntie who is a trusted auntie, and you really want your daughter to say something, because if she's afraid to say anything in the house, somebody needs to know in order for this to be addressed. How do we go about that in your view?
Yes, because again, the cliche is what happens in this house stays in the house. And we know what that means. Again, it means not talking. But the reality, it doesn't stay in the house, because it's going to come out. It comes out in our behavior. It comes out in our speech. So once we see the pattern, remember earlier we talked about identifying patterns and signs and symptoms and behaviors, but we see that are prevalent in our own lives. And again, it all goes back to personal responsibility. And are you willing to stay in this position in life? If you are, to the person that said, should all the secrets be revealed? Yes. But also I want to mention that do know that everybody's not going to be of the same mindset as you are. Some people may be angry, that's okay. But again, from a personal standpoint, why you want to reveal, so that you can talk about it and release that. The bottom line is that we have to have courage so that we can be vulnerable to reach out and seek the necessary help to process through that.
And help is available. I mean, help is available.
It's everywhere.
Been teaching, someone is assigned to help you. Now,
yes, that's good.
Day, if you're not in a good place, you got to ask yourself, why am I not in a good place? Why am,
you
know, what is it that, in closing, Dr. Tonya, I remember sitting in my therapist's chair, and she said, well, I think we're done, Mr. Miller. She said, I feel as though your head is clear. I think you're on a good track, blah, blah, blah. And she said, maybe we can visit again at a certain time. And I said, well, let's set another appointment for next week. She said, why? I said, because, hey, I never asked the question. I grew up without a dad, and this. I said, let's talk about that a little bit. I want to know. I'm a loyalist. I'm a loyalist to a fault.
Me too.
Jesus Christ. I mean, come on. You know, how many times are you going to let this thing happen to you before you wake yourself up? You know, you're the perfect candidate for abuse.
Yeah,
I'm
been
like,
there.
so I said, I need to get to the root of that. And then listen, so my question to you is, when you start to get free, the people who are having a problem with you being free, what gives you the strength to keep getting free versus going back to trying to fit in? Because to show up, I watch you, I know you, to say you show up and you're alive and you're loving life and you're engaging in a healthy way of moving forward, somebody don't like your freedom.
Mm-mm.
Somebody
Mm-mm.
don't like your freedom, to the point that if you're not strong enough to keep progressing forward, you will go back just to fit in, to almost be pleasing to them or to that
Yes.
person. Talk to our viewing audience about finding the help and then developing the willpower to do the things
Mhm.
necessary to stay free.
Yes, there's a plethora of help out there, and especially now, again, there's so much awareness about taking care of our mental health and our spiritual health. So you have to, number one, be willing to do the work to find it, whatever help that is, number one. And once you find that, then commit to doing the work, connect with that person. And I'm so glad that you saw within yourself, say, hey, I need another session, because a lot of my clients, some of them will come because of marriage problems. It's really daddy and mama issues.
Yes, right.
And once we get to that root, I say, you don't have a marriage problem, you have a daddy issue problem.
Right.
And we know what that means from a spiritual standpoint, and even from a natural standpoint, how important that father role is.
Yep.
So encouraging people to just really seek that help, and then being willing to commit to actually doing the help so that you can. And once you're committing to do the work, that means that you're going through the healing. Healing is a process, a lifelong process, not a destination. My therapist taught me that too. I'm thinking, I thought I was healed. I got my marbles back, coach. And I'm like, wait, I see some marbles still rolling around. I didn't know. It's because healing, what Paul talks about, that thorn, and pray for that thorn, God to remove it. What was his response? My grace is sufficient for you. So there's some things that we're going to have to learn how to manage it. And you won't learn how to manage it without going to counseling, without going to therapy. But as you go through that, you're building your new nucleus, your new family. So when the others that are upset about your change, it won't impact you like it did once before, because hopefully you're gaining some wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and you're being healed to where you won't fall back to that unhealthy, toxic relationship.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Tonya Cunningham has blessed us again today. The woman is incredible. She does a series of talks. She's a speaker. She's an author, and she's available. And you need to contact her. Let me ask my last two questions. Looking back on your life 20 years ago, what it is that you wish you knew that you don't? What is it that you wish you knew then that you know now that you would be like, wow, could have been a difference maker, but I want to share it with this viewing audience? What, looking back, principle that you stand on now today that you would have not even probably accepted 20 years ago?
The importance of nurturing. The importance of nurturing, and that it begins in the womb. Wow. I just spoke to a mother there. It begins on the inside, not the moment that we're born. So the importance of that, because again, a lot of us are out there seeking love. And even if your parents were present, but they may not have been present emotionally, didn't have the capacity to give because of those generational challenges. So that's the main lesson. And then just knowing, if I had known the truth about, I believe, about where we were as a family, I think it would have changed my trajectory at some point.
Excellent. Excellent. Such great. What does effective living look like for you? I mean, from the seat that you're sitting in, what does effective living look like?
Making a positive impact on my level, in my lane. That's what, on my level, because I can't be, I got to run my race, but I can't. As much as I admire you, honor you, I would, but I can't be Ricardo. I can be me. And going through counseling and therapy helped me to love me the way I am, instead of comparing myself to other people.
That is so good. I'm going to go back and write that down. I'm going to use that. Okay. Listen, tell our viewing audience how they can contact you. Tell them about your book. I know you have a book, and you've been doing a series of talks as well. Let them know how they can get a hold of all that good stuff.
Yes, my most recent work is called Grief Work is Essential, Not Optional, and it goes through grief and the reality about grief not being about death only, it's about loss. And I talk about check your roots, going to through your family system and dealing with those issues. So a lot of the topics we talked about today, again, is addressed in this book, and you can get it on my website, drtonyacunningham.com. There's other information. There's a resource page there. So if you need help, especially from a grief standpoint, you can go to my website, Dr. Tonya Cunningham, and find out that information. If you haven't done so already, follow me on Instagram, Dr. Tonya Cunningham, as well as Facebook and LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you.
Awesome, awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, connect with her today. Go ahead to her website, buy the book. I'm telling you, it is so important that we do the work. And Dr. Cunningham, I've identified on my journey that there has been so much that I wish I had known about me.
Yes.
To get me in a good headspace to live life to the fullest. And I can't live life to the fullest until I address me. You know, until I get to the point of identifying what elephant is in my room, what closet that I have addressed, what views, principles, ideology, philosophies. I mean, everything that will be looked at. And so it's been a delight to embrace this. But thank you now for sharing with our viewing audience, because I believe what you shared today started the process for some people to accept some truth. And that's going to hopefully free them. And when they grab a hold of your book and follow your platform and so forth. She's also a speaker, guys. So if you're needing a virtual speaker for an event around the world or an in-person speaker, I guess you're going to have to cash out some money, because you can tell she's good at what she does. And so let's go ahead and connect with Dr. Tonya Cunningham. Any closing thought before we end our talk?
I just want to appreciate you. Thank you again. I always love coming to be on your platform, and I'm just honored and just love seeing you develop and evolve into who God ordained for you to be. And again, the last thing I would leave with you guys is to do the work. Do the work. Don't allow that cliche, what happens in your house, to stay in the house. Again, make those have those hard conversations, those difficult challenges. Do the work so that you can live the life that God ordained for you to live.
That is so good. Ladies and gentlemen, please do me a favor as well and share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning, another exciting, interesting, very life-changing talk here on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. But subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this with someone. I think the information that was given today is going to be very helpful for a lot of people. So do me a favor and make sure this is spread as far as possible so as many people can enjoy what was said today to help them to get to that healthier place. Thank you again, Dr. Tonya Cunningham.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.